What really happened to make thousands of ARMY suddenly fell silent in front of their screens? Why does one honest sentence from Kim Taehyung feel different than usual? And why is Jungkook's name back in the limelight just because of a brief confession? It all started from a seemingly simple moment. A relaxed broadcast, an atmosphere initially full of laughter, and the usual warm interactions between BTS members. No one expected that the light conversation would turn into something deeper, more personal, and much more emotional. Taehyung looked calm. However, there was a different tone in his voice when he mentioned Jungkook. Not a joke. Not their typical joke. Except for the words that sound sincere, honest, and as if he had long wanted to convey. He acknowledged how much hard work Jungkook had put in, how the magne had shouldered a burden that was not always visible to the public, and how behind his smile and energy, there was a pressure that was rarely talked about. The first hint was felt from Taehyung's expression that turned serious. The camera caught his deep gaze, as if he was weighing every word. Then, the confession came out just like that, without a script, without dramatization. He said that Jungkook often looks strong, but is actually very sensitive and cares about the people around him. The sentence is simple, but the impact is tremendous. The witnessing ARMY immediately began to realize that this was not just an ordinary compliment between group mates. There was respect, admiration, maybe even regret for not being aware enough of the burden Jungkook was carrying. The comment section has also changed drastically. From what was initially full of laughing emojis, suddenly filled with messages of emotion and expressions of gratitude. What makes the atmosphere even quieter is when Taehyung adds that he learned a lot from Jungkook. A surprising admission, considering Jungkook is the youngest member. Many did not expect Taehyung to publicly say that he felt inspired by Jungkook's tenacity and maturity. The moment felt like it opened up another side of their relationship, deeper than just friendship on stage. Not rumors, not wild speculation, but an honest recognition of mutual respect that may not have been highlighted so far. Not a few soldiers admit to goosebumps. Some say the live atmosphere suddenly quiet. Some feel like they are witnessing something very personal and rare. For some, this changed the way they viewed Taehyung and Jungkook's dynamic, not just as idols, but as humans supporting each other in the enormous pressures of the entertainment industry. But after that moment passed, the impact was even more pronounced. The video footage began to spread widely on various platforms. ARMY dissected every second of Kim Taehyung's expression, slowing down the part when he took a breath before speaking, even noticing the small change in Jungkook's gaze upon hearing his name called. And that's where many feel there is something different. Jungkook, who is usually quick to reply with a joke or a big smile, this time seemed more silent. He smiled, but the smile felt softer, as if it harbored emotions that he could not fully express. The few seconds of silence between them were precisely the most talked about part. The silence was not awkward. It's not tense either, unless it's meaningful. Some fans felt that Taehyung's confession was a form of support in the midst of a new phase that Jungkook was undergoing. Others see it as a sign of the maturity of their relationship, that after years together under the BTS name, they are now at a point where honesty feels more important than just maintaining an image. What makes it all change everything is not just the content of the words, but the timing. At a time when much speculation and rumors are circulating about the direction of each member's career, Taehyung instead chose to affirm one thing: his respect and admiration for Jungkook has never changed. Some soldiers even admitted to shedding tears. Not because of the drama, but because seeing two figures who have been known to be strong ends up showing a more vulnerable and human side. Behind the stage spotlight, grandiose concerts, and world records, there are real friendships that grow with time. The moment also sparked reflection among fans. Many began to write messages of support for Jungkook, reminding that they saw his hard work. There were also those who thanked Taehyung for daring to say what perhaps not everyone dared to say openly, and perhaps therein lies her emotional shock, not because there are big revelations or surprising secrets, but because one simple confession is able to make thousands of people stop for a moment, reflect, and feel the depth of a relationship that has been visible only at first glance. Sometimes, what really changes everything is not a scandal or a sensation. Rather, it is the courage to be honest about pride, about admiration, and about how valuable a person is in the long journey that has been traveled together. Since then, the narrative about their relationship has noticeably shifted. Many are beginning to realize that the interaction between Kim Taehyung and Jungkook is no longer just a funny moment that can be used as fan video editing material. There's a deeper layer of emotion, a long journey built up from trainee days to standing together as part of BTS on the world stage. Some longtime fans recalled how in the past Jungkook was often seen as a cheerful little brother, while Taehyung was known for his quirky and unpredictable personality. Time is running. Challenges come and go. Popularity increased dramatically. Pressure is inevitable. And in the midst of it all, the honest confession feels like a reminder that they grew up together. There was one small detail that went viral again: the way Taehyung patted Jungkook on the shoulder after speaking. Short, almost imperceptible movements. But to the ARMY, it was like a wordless symbol of support. Jungkook nodded slowly, not as an idol performing, but as someone who felt understood. Some entertainment analysts even rate this moment as one of the most sincere interactions ever recorded on their live broadcasts. Not because the drama is big, but because the emotions are real. Not made up. No exaggeration. Even more surprising, after the live, many fans admitted that they began to see Jungkook with a new perspective. They realized how often he shouldered high expectations as a maknae, as well as the main performer. And when Taehyung voices his admiration and recognition openly, it's like giving validation that has been only assumed. Maybe not in a big sense like a change of career direction or a big decision, but in terms of worldview, yes. That moment changed the way many people understood the depth of their relationship, changing the way the ARMY interprets Jungkook's hard work. It might even change the way Taehyung and Jungkook themselves see their journey so far, because in the end, what shook the most was not the confession alone, but the silence afterwards. Meaningful silence. A silence that makes thousands of people in different parts of the world feel the same at the same time.